Oklahoma has a great diversity of native plants adapted to a wide range of habitats. And this year we will showcase a number of these natives in our new garden, Native Splendor, which was designed by one of our garden ambassadors, Olin Thomas. Olin's going to join us later this season to talk about his design. Today I want to feature a couple of the early bloomers in the garden, starting with this vine here. This is coral honeysuckle, also called trumpet honeysuckle, and it grows about 20 feet. It has a vining habit and these beautiful clusters of flowers. Now, this species is Lonicera sempervirens, and it's closely related to the more commonly planted Japanese honeysuckle, which is Lonicera japonica. But this one's a little bit less aggressive. The Japanese honeysuckle tends to be pretty aggressive or even invasive in the landscape. Now, the specific name sempervirens refers to the evergreen habit of the plant, and we see this more in the southern region of the distribution. This plant is native throughout eastern North America, all the way from Canada south to Texas, and only in the southern portion of its range do we start to see an evergreen nature to the leaves. And another wonderful feature of the leaves, if you look closely, the leaves that are just below the flower cluster are actually fused at the base, and they make a little cup, and after the rain, sometimes the rain collects in that little cup, and it's a nice place for insects to come and take a drink. The flowers themselves are just remarkably beautiful. They have a coloration that goes from pink to red, a little bit of orange sometimes, and they have a yellow throat inside. They're frequently visited by hummingbirds, which just love to come and sip nectar from these long trumpet-shaped clusters. Now, the honeysuckle has a vining habit, and it's best if you give it something to climb. It will make a very nice ground cover, but it'll also climb over any other plants that are on the ground. So I find it best to give a trellis, or in this case we're using our bridge. Fences are a wonderful support for our coral honeysuckle, Lonicera sempervirens. This dainty flower belongs to the hibiscus family. This is the pale pink poppy mallow, or Caloroe alcaoides. Now, this plant may look very delicate, but it's actually quite tough. It's adapted to dry, rocky soils, but it also does very well in clay soils as well. It's quite drought tolerant, and in fact, in the summertime, sometimes it'll go dormant. Don't think that it died. It'll come back up in the fall and regrow again at that time. Now, this plant spreads to about 18 inches, but the flower clusters will stand up about a foot tall. We have another Caloroe, it's a purple poppy mallow, Caloroe involucrata, and that one has more of a magenta purple flower, and it spreads a little bit farther than the pale pink. Both of these really love the sunshine, but they'll do well in partial shade as well. Native Americans used the Caloroes as a food source. In the fall, they would harvest the root, which has a flavor similar to a sweet potato, and throughout the year, they would use the leaves to thicken soups.